welcome, Screen Fiend fans. You guys been waiting to do this, and I've been waiting to do this for a long time. Now everyone should have seen the movie Spider-Man No Way Home. And we can get into the spoiler review now. Unlike some thirsty people, I was able to wait. That's right. I was able to resist the temptations of coming out. There were people who came out the next day with a spoiler video. They were so thirsty to talk about this movie. And let's get into it. Everybody know I rated this movie 4 stars out of 4. I'm very hard and critical on the film. One thing that we all know is that Spider-Man brought back entities because he wanted people to forget he was Spider-Man. Based on what happened with Mysterio. Right? On the bridge, they do the investigation, and all of those things that came into play. As a fan, I would have loved to have seen a little bit more. But I understand time constraints. But I would have loved to see more of the investigation, because it was kind of a big deal when it was going down, and wind up being a quick fix when Murdoch was called. And Spider-Man was just, there was nothing there. He was, it was just fixed immediately. Quick fix. An immediate quick fix. Storyline sucked. Storyline didn't suck at all. I don't know what you're talking about. I just wished it wasn't such a quick wipe over, but I know they had to do that to advance the film. But I would have liked to see what Murdoch did. But then that's taking it away from the film, But that's just the fan in me. Now, there's tons of Easter eggs here that are flying around. Now that he's known as Peter Parker, everybody knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man. We didn't see kind of the weight of that a lot on him. He was taking it all in, but we never got to see the real full gravity of what that presented. We just saw a glimpse of it. And of course, they can't really show that. They have to move the film along. Now, bringing in the villains, I do have a lot of questions on how Jamie Foxx was able to get his body back. When the power shut off. He was able to recover his body back. Well, it wasn't just to get his friends into college. You gotta remember, he's in high school. He wanted everybody to forget he's Spider-Man anyway, because it was causing all kind of problems. And just that was the last straw. He was dealing with it until it was affecting other people's lives, not his own. So it wasn't just to get them into college. Him being Spider-Man was having a negative effect on everyone else's life. They were going to be penalized because he was Spider-Man. So if Aunt May wanted to do something down the road, or they'll probably penalize her because he's Spider-Man. So it was going to be a domino effect. Yeah, well, Spider-Man, the thing about it is the film had a lot of heart, and it was a lot of people like, man, this is a real emotional movie. It was very emotional. Tom Holland comes from a very drama-driven society. The three Spider-Mans that they chosen are basically three drama actors. They're not action stars. But Tom Holland is very athletic. He's the most athletic of all of them. He could do all the Spider-Man stunts. He can do parkour. He can do flips. He can do everything. Andrew Garfield time was that. And it was, hey, look at that. When did they build that? That's crazy. They built that over there. Okay, but neither was Tobey Maguire. And while neither one of those guys looked like they were in high school, it was great to see them back working together. And the thing is that it wasn't corny. Normally when they bring in cameos or for a special appearance, they come in for maybe 5-10 minutes of the film, and it's kind of corny. They don't really have any dialogue. They just for fanfare. They actually meant something to the movie, and that's the difference. And that's what elevated the film, is that their purpose in the film was driven. And the fact that it wasn't, we got to return these guys back to where they come from and do a cheesy ending. It was saying, no, let's actually try to help these people. Because they're actually, something's wrong with all of them. They're all screwed up. Let's see if there's some way we can help them and send them back. Now, that would be different than actually just going along with killing them. Well, the thing is that they're all really good actors. They're very good actors. So when you put them together to have that chemistry to play off each other and act, it was great to have the lines that go along with it. It had to mean something. And to show up when Tom Holland's Spider-Man needed them the most. Like, people forget, Tobey Maguire started this 20 years ago. 20 years ago. People forget the first Spider-Man movie was like 20 years ago. The 20th anniversary is coming up. So when they started this crusade, there's a lot of things people just didn't know or didn't see. As like the movie, like, people forget that it was terribly reviewed, but it beat Star Wars. It made more money than Attack of the Clones, and it came out first. People were just excited to see Spider-Man, you know, on the big screen. And I like Spider-Man. I didn't think it was bad at all, the first one. I mean, it was kind of cheesy in a way. Kind of reminded me certain scenes of the Batman. But it definitely wasn't awful. What's up, Mr. Kane? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Oh, the Nickelback song. Yeah, all the music. The song at the end by gosh, who was that? De La Soul. The Three. By De La Soul. Yep. But that was the key, is to have them all mean something. But Doctor Strange, his character, he was more like Tony Stark, and more than he was Doctor Strange, in my opinion, in this film. I think early on they were trying to make him like a mentor to Peter, like kind of how Tony was. Too many jokes in the beginning. Like, I can't see Doctor Strange telling them to Scooby-Doo this shit. It's just like, huh? That would be the only detraction I had from the movie, really. Well, there's a lot of transitions done in the film that made it work. I liked how Electro, how when he formed, he had almost like the star above his head, like he did when he was in the comic book. Doc Ock, as you can see, his tentacles absorbed nanotech. And if you watched, that was one of his main works, he was star in nanotech. So Peter's suit is nanotech, because that's what Tony was into. So it was able to absorb the nanotech, but by doing so, it left it vulnerable to be, as accessed by it was left to be accessed by Peter. He can just take over the technology. So now they were, just because they absorbed that nanotech, they were able to be controlled. And just like in the first movie, it was red on the inside, but when the Doc Octavius was controlling it, it was white on the inside, just like it was in the Sam Raimi films. They all came up with every detail to try to match how it was in the films that you watched before. Even the thing that attached to the spines, that little piece, the little pins that go into the spine for the device that, shattered once the electricity hit it in Spider-Man 2. It's pretty accurate. Even some of the technology for like the lizard. And even Sandman. But Sandman was going to cost a lot of money. As people saying, they really did nothing with Sandman. I'm like, well, Sandman was going to cost a lot of money. They're already spending a lot of money on CGI. So Sandman's character, his arc was already completed in the third film. He had already come around full circle. The only thing that was about him is that he was still like made of sand. But here's the thing now. He just wants to see his daughter again. But here's the problem. By curing Sandman, he's now going to jail. He don't have the ability to escape the cops no more. Now that you cured Sandman, you sending him back, he going into the slammer. You kind of made it worse for him. Ned has always done a great job, I thought, as being the guy in the chair. He completes the film. He makes it believable. He makes it like this is what you would want your buddy to be like in these situations. You know, he's actually all in, you know. And you really believe their friendship watching the movie. Zendaya is mostly like a high girls in high school who were not like, oh God, I'm not in the Palm Squad and all of those. See, a lot of girls are not in those things. They're not in cheer club. They're not part of the Mean Girls Club. These are the outcast chicks. Those are the chicks that watch anime and very pessimistic about everything. Thinks negative all the time. There's a lot of those girls out there. And she represents that, and to see that on the screen as her being the main girl, they're normally not the main girl. They're normally for comic side relief and not the main girl material. So to see her as the main girl was very interesting. I told you before this movie was even made that this was based off the comic book, what was it, One Last Day? I don't own that comic somewhere, where he goes to Doctor Strange and want people to forget he's Peter Parker, and it was actually Mephisto that was involved in the situation, and that's why everybody keeps thinking they're gonna see Mephisto. And once again, we didn't see Mephisto. Now let's get to the tragedy of Aunt May. Now, Aunt May and her tragedy is simple. Where's Uncle Ben? Uncle Ben is gone. Now, Aunt May dying in the film really was a shock to many. Because even when she got hit, people thought she was going to be okay. And I was saying it my first time watching the film. As soon as she got hit and she got up, I'm like, man, ain't no damn way she getting smacked with that glider. She just gonna get up like that. She did a somersault and landed on them rocks. Plus that thing had like blades on the front. And the way that thing whacked her and coming through the door, she wasn't gonna be getting up for a week. So once she fell down, I'm like, oh yeah, see? See? But she just had to get her points across on the importance of changing them. Now, she said the line correctly too, the way it was in the comic. With great powers also comes great responsibilities. Yes, very emotional, very sad. The crowd was, I mean, I've never seen a crowd for any Marvel movie this vested. There were clapping, there was applauding. It was all different type of energy. Like when Murdoch shows up on the scene, he got about a louder applause than almost the Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire had the biggest applause. But so did Murdoch. Garfield really didn't get that much applause. He got an applause when they first saw him, but when they saw Maguire, they really started going off. I mean, they popped. I mean, it went off because they were glad to see him. But Murdoch got a huge ovation because a lot of people didn't know who he was. So it was like some people, like I told you, the casuals were like, who was that? Because as soon as he went and everybody clapped and they started turning and like, who is that? You could hear people like asking who in the world was that? Yes, that's Electro from that timeline from Spider-Man 2. All the villains are from the timeline of the other Spider-Mans. Like the Lizard. And Jamie Foxx are from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man timeline. And the Sandman, the Doc Ock, and Osborn are from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And Tom Holland, he didn't have a villain. But you didn't notice he did have a villain, though. The villain was himself. Aha! You didn't pick up on that, did you? Everybody had a villain that they were fixing and curing. And the villain Tom Holland had was himself. He had to fix himself. Yes, he stopped him and looked at him because he had to fix himself. He was going to go down the road that Garfield Spider-Man went down. Now, if this is going to continue down this path, what all happened to Garfield down the road? See, that's what people don't really understand, is that he talked about the dark past and things that happened. And this is why I said it was very genius of them to have him introduced to Peter, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, when he really needed them the most, instead of just having a impromptu reunion meeting each other. Hey, guys, look, I got these problems, these guys are here. We gotta come. They didn't do it cheesy. They did it in the right way, where they had meaning to the film. They didn't do it just to make it ridiculous, just because the people wanted to see it. Let's just put them on the screen, no matter what the lines are. Like he said, he stopped pulling his punches, and he was in a rageful moment, after he lost Gwen. So he knew all about loss. But they had to make sure Peter was in his right mind, Tom Holland's Peter, in order to do that. And the fact that they didn't just team up and go out there and start whooping some butt. They was getting their butts whooped because two of the Spider-Mans never really teamed up with anybody. They were solo acts. Tom Holland knew how to work as a team because he had worked in the Avengers. And it was great dialogue how they had that conversation. He was like, look, I worked together with others. I'm not going to brag, but I was with the Avengers. Really? Great. What is that? It was hilarious. You guys don't have the Avengers where you are? Is that like a band? How is this helping? Man, it was hilarious. Great dialogue. Great dialogue. Tobey Maguire executed that to perfection. The Witcher is worth every cent. If you watched the first episode and didn't get into The Witcher, I don't know what's wrong with your antenna, because The Witcher kick off in the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes. It don't waste no time. And here's the thing, when Aunt May died, and she was dying, a lot of you didn't recognize the dialogue. But I watch a bunch of movies. So her death was very similar to another death. YouTube. YouTube. A lot of you probably don't remember a movie that came out because a lot of you probably weren't born. But there was a movie called Colors with Ice-T made the song Colors. 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 Dun, 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 dun. Colors. 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 Yeah, Sean Penn. At the very end of the movie, when the officer gets shot, Robert Duvall's character gets shot. It is the same way it was in Spider-Man. $1988. I just got to catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Ready to rock and roll in a minute. Let me catch my breath. If you watch that scene again and you watch Spider-Man, you're going to automatically know that's where they got it from.
Okay, stop. Jesus fucking Christ, man. It's okay. I can't feel my legs. It's okay. Just go away for a minute. Stay calm. Just go away. Okay, somebody get an ambulance! Somebody call my wife and tell her to come get me. Get my wife. Okay, I'm gonna rest my head a bit. I gotta catch my breath. I'm gonna catch my breath. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna catch my breath. Catch my breath. Catch my breath. Okay. I'm just rest up. I'll be ready to roll in a minute.
So, this impactful scene was reenacted in Spider-Man. That is the Aunt May death. Because I've seen a lot of movies, I knew exactly where they were drawing it from. It was drawn from this film, Colors. So that's another sidebar. Electro never knew the identity of Spider-Man until this movie. And then he saw Andrew Garfield with the mask off and was like, man, you just a kid. You just a kid. Man, you know, the way you've been helping people and doing all this stuff, man, I thought you would have been black. Quite sure there's a black Spider-Man out there somewhere. Well, they're setting the stage. William Dafoe was clearly the one that could do all the physical roles for the character, because he's always going to steal the show. People always loved him as Osborn. He was the best part of Spider-Man. He really sold in. When he turns into the Goblin, he really was sold in 100%. So for him to fight Tom Holland and them to have an epic bout that they did, it was great. You know, I wish we would have kind of had that with him and the other Spider-Man. A lot of this was mostly Tom Holland's Spider-Man, blending in and reenacting some of the scenes that happened from the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi Spider-Man, more than the Spider-Man of the Amazing Spider-Man. Like when he keeps telling him, no, dude, you're amazing. No, someone needs to tell you that. You are amazing. Thank you. It is good to hear. Then, you know, they poke out certain things, like the back problems of Tobey Maguire, which made him almost sit out of Spider-Man 3. And reason why Spider-Man 3 kind of sucked with the fighting scenes and sequences, because mainly he had injured his back doing Seabiscuit. And that's why Spider-Man 3 was the last time you were going to see him as Spider-Man. Even though they got a stunt guy and CGI, he was just like, look, I can't do all the physical activity to get in shape. So he was like completely out of shape while filming that movie. So it played on a lot of the tropes that a lot of people knew behind the scenes about the characters. You are amazing, man. No, you are amazing. Why? Because he's the Amazing Spider-Man. For those who don't know, there was 2 comic books. At the time, it was Spider-Man, and then it was The Amazing Spider-Man. And The Amazing Spider-Man had Electro and Lizard and all these other villains, where Spider-Man mostly followed Doc Ock, Sandman. You know, they mostly stayed with those characters, where the Amazing Spider-Man interacted with all different type of characters. Right, then you end up getting the Spectacular Spider-Man. It was a whole lot of avenues being and lines being crossed. It was something that I saw on there they was talking about, and when they were doing the headers, it was something at the bottom that I didn't see. I was trying to read it, but I think it was tying into the Night Monkey that they had over in England when they did Far From Home. It was something that they were saying about the Night Monkey, like the Spider Monkey or whatever they called him. Well, now that what's made it canon is that you saw Spider-Man actually swing in the beginning. He swung past the actual the play that they had for Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers, the musical. Yeah, that's the new Spideyverse movie. When they gotta fight Spider-Man 2099. That's the new Miles Morales Spider-Man movie, the animated into the Spideyverse. That's also the being in the works. Yeah, they flew past the musical, which ties into the Hawkeye series, which means the Hawkeye is canon with the Spider-Man series. As you see, Kingpin from the Marvel series, he's connected, as you can see, before they get to the final episode, which is probably going to premiere tonight at midnight, which should be in a couple of minutes. Oh, well, they were playing a winning team. We all knew the Lakers was going to lose tonight. And, oh, baby, wait till you see that live video I do on that. LeBron got hurt, came down on somebody's ankle. Oh, but believe me, that everything is going down now. Will Peter go to MIT? No. Peter's not going to MIT. The ending, where people think it's confusing, he basically did not involve he didn't involve anybody else, and basically Spider-Man now, that storyline is complete. He now has his app on the phone, just like in the video game. When there's a crime, he can see the crime on his phone. It gives him alerts, so he can go out and fight crime. He made his own Spider-Man suit, and now he can go out and be Spider-Man. So now he's got a clean slate. No one knows he's Peter Parker. He has no more connection with the Avengers, Doctor Strange, anybody. So Spider-Man is free. All his strings are cut. So this is the third and final installment in the deal for Sony. So if Sony takes over Spider-Man again and takes it from Marvel, they can go in another direction. Tom Holland already said I went as far with the character like I wanted to go with him. I don't know how far more we can go with Spider-Man. I think we've taken the character, on a journey full circle, and it's like, man, Spider-Man ends up alone. Why didn't he just tell her when he found her? I'm like, they could always bring that back. And now they got it where Venom, and you see in the end credit, one piece of Venom was left, his symbiote, when they faded him back to his area. Now, to his timeline, a little piece of the symbiote is there. Now, is it going to find an Eddie Brock that's in that universe? Or will it just attach itself to Spider-Man somehow? But the symbiote, whatever, is going to have to grab a host immediately if it wants to survive. So we don't know if Tom Holland's going to be the black Spider-Man in the black suit, and we're going to have a reenactment of that again. Just as long as we don't have Topher Grace being Venom again. You're right. Flash could actually get it. I wouldn't mind seeing Flash get it. I would like them to continue what they're doing so far. They have a great grasp on what Spider-Man is and what he's supposed to be. People forget that Spider-Man, that's why it was cool to see in this film with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, we never really got to see him be the full scientist. We didn't get that Spider-Man. We had the photographer at the Daily Planet Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. He didn't have to make web. Web was coming out of his arm, so they eliminated him being a scientist basically altogether. And just made him the photographer at the Daily Planet. Where you got Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was entirely a different take than having him just work at the Daily Planet. It tapped into him also being a scientist. He was more of a scientist than he was, that was just something to pay the bills. But he was a scientist first. And they kind of got away from that. In the Sam Raimi film. So to see them all working in the lab was great to see, because I think people forget who watched the Sam Raimi films that, yeah, he was a scientist. So that's one thing that I loved about The Amazing Spider-Man. They tapped into the fact that he was a scientist. Oh man, I wish I can see. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the movie again just to see one part. What did it say at the bottom when it was going by? It says something about the night monkey overseas. That's gonna bother me. Oh yeah, it was good because he was more like Spider-Man. Like I said, Tobey Maguire is the better Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield was the better Spider-Man. He was silly. He did more of the antics Spider-Man would do. Well, Venom also has that sense. The symbiotes have that sense just like a spider. So for him to be like Spider-Man or to find Spider-Man shouldn't take him long. He should be able to track down Spider-Man. No, it might be. I doubt it because Morbius is not a part of the. I mean, that's part of the Sony, and I don't know if they're going to introduce them. They already introduced Blade in the Celestials movie, Externals. Blade's voice is at the end of that. They got the Vulture in there. Michael Keaton's character is the Vulture. He's in that movie. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Then the person from Far From Home, Homecoming, the one who lost his eye, when he says, "Do you know the identity of Spider-Man?" When Spider-Man was revealed, I thought he would appear to take his revenge once he found out who Spider-Man really was. When the whole world knew that they would come after Peter Parker. But then again, he was locked up, so. The next big film to come out, yeah, I think the Multiverse of Madness. It's kind of crazy, but you have to watch the What If series to be abreast to watch that. But you have Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange. It looks like it's taking canon with because it looks like just like man, I just saw this in the What If series. Well, the Eternals was never gonna do any record-breaking numbers like this. The Eternals is only thing it's good for is it opens the door of the possibilities of everything else. Like, nobody was really caught into Thanos' brother, and I was like, huh? But now you're getting to introduce Galactus, and you bring in Galactus now. Now that's when it goes to a whole new plateau. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy, they really introduced space. Thor was supposed to do that, but Thor kept coming on Earth, and they kept bringing Thor on Earth. I'm like, Thor battles and was all in space. You keep bringing Thor on Earth for? You're ruining it. You're ruining what Thor is. So, and they realized what I was saying and what the people said. Like, man, look, y'all ruining this. So when they did Ragnarok, that was the first Thor movie they really got right. Because Dark Thor, The Dark World is probably the worst Marvel movie made. Period. That movie is god awful. I hate Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is actually a good movie. I'm going to tell you the movies that suck. Iron Man 2, Thor the Dark World. What's another one that sucked? I mean, Iron Man 3 wasn't that great, but it was, after watching 2, it was like, it's lifetimes better than, than that. Ant-Man and the Wasp was good. It wasn't better than the first Ant-Man. By far. Shang-Chi was great. Man, those are if I had to rank them, there's only been one great Iron Man movie, and that was it. Captain America got the best movies, the best trilogy so far, because it got better. Each one got better. It was the first Captain America, then Winter Soldier was probably one of the best Marvel movies made, and then you had Civil War. So they just kept raising the bar. Iron Man kept getting worse and worse. Iron Man 2 was such a disaster. Favreau never wanted to direct another Marvel movie again, and he didn't. He was out. He said, "This is it. I'm not directing another Marvel movie. I'll produce it, but I'm out." Black Widow wasn't a bad movie. This one, I'm trying to figure out. I'm confused here. Y'all going off the characters that y'all don't like or something? Because Black Widow really wasn't a bad movie. I was thinking it was going to be god awful. And it was actually, man, I'm like, Black Widow wasn't bad. Eternals, yeah, Eternals could be in that category. It wasn't outstanding at all. It had a lot of plot points and people who shouldn't have been in it, but they were just there, I guess, just to say they were in a Marvel movie. Black Widow, well, if you've seen Black Widow, you would know the point of the movie is to move the other characters forward that they did not speak about, like her father and her sister, you know. Natasha Romanoff, you see her sister now on Hawkeye, right? So that was the point of the film. That was the end of, Scarlett Johansson's contract. So she won't be returning. So she's out. And now she's done. Now they can move forward. Now, you kidding me, LB? The Taskmaster reveal was who we expected it to be. If you didn't know that was a woman in that suit, I knew from the bridge that was a woman as Taskmaster. And I knew it was going to be the daughter. Who didn't know? Because I was hoping they stayed at that point. I was hoping they stayed at that point where she made that decision and she had to live with it. I'm like, man, that's some real grit. You know, she made that decision to have the daughter killed just to have that man gone. So she got to live with that regret. Knowing that she got that on her file, that's some hard stuff to live with. But I knew, I said, that's a woman in that suit, and that's going to wind up being the daughter. I know it, and now she'd be like, okay, well, I really didn't kill her, but, well, look what you did. But now you got the girl to forgive her, so now all that weight's gone, so she ain't got to worry about that no more. It's all water under the bridge. Forget I tried to blow you up and turn you into a cyborg. Sorry about all that. Why do we go to see the same Spider-Man movie over and over again? I don't think I've ever seen this Spider-Man movie before. Did you guys ever see it? I don't remember seeing it. Yes, Taskmaster is supposed to be a man. Yes. I did think that was funny though. They had the magazine, Peter is a liar, on the front of the People's Magazine. They had the girl, the black girl that Peter was dating from Homecoming, that he never went to the homecoming. Um, you know, he blew a lot of things because he kept having to leave, but couldn't explain to her why. Oh, if they do Black Cat, well, then they'll be like, okay, well, you kind of make this is kind of like Catwoman. So, but I'm telling people, man, when this Batman film comes out, it's gonna take people to a whole nother level. This ain't a Batman film you could take kids to go see at all. So any kids that love Batman, they can forget about it on this one. They be like, look, we got other Batman movies you can go watch. Go watch Justice League or something, because this here is like a horror movie. It's like a horror mystery drama. It is so dark. I'm just like, man, how did they approve this? Watch. This is the darkest Batman movie you probably have ever going to ever see. Because they will never make a sequel to this. Don't expect a trilogy of this Batman at all. This is a one-off. No, Batman don't look weak at all, bro. This is, believe me, it's going to be violent. It's going to be like a horror movie, dramatized. And all you're going to see is a lot of black and red and just dim. It's just doom. Everything is bounded, is surrounded in dim doomness. Yeah, but this is the original Riddler when he first started. He didn't have a green suit with question marks all over the place. That didn't happen yet. So you got to go back to this is like the origin of the comics. So yeah, this is really getting into it. So anyway, thanks for your time. We spent a whole hour talking about Spider-Man. I'm with it. Let's go.